Hello and welcome to the Liz Experiment YouTube channel. This is the channel where I record field notes from my journey towards architecting my best life. And I am back here in the good old US of A, my home country. This week I'm in Las Cruces, New Mexico. I'll be here for a few weeks. A dear friend of mine has a house here that she's allowing me to stay at. And this week, I'm going to talk a lot about my travel back from Jalapa, Mexico. I'm also going to talk about just the conflicting thoughts that I have about being back in the States and life here. And finally, I plan on touching on just thinking about and considering how much of myself I put out there in the world. So, with all of that, let's get started.
Life's a foolish game. Do you ever feel the same? Well, maybe we could change. Turn the ship another way.
So jumping right back in, actually, before I jump right back in, one of the things that I did last week was I started my first, or sent out the first, what I'm calling the Field Notes newsletter, where I just kind of summarize all of the videos and blog posts that that I put together, and just also share some of the other things that I found around the internet and the world that I think are interesting. And one of the things I talked about in that newsletter was about showing, I guess, and sitting in my truth. And I'm smiling because I'm thinking about the topics that I planned on talking about today and how much that resonates. So I say all that preamble because I really want to try to be in my truth as much as possible in these videos and not be a show person first, even though I know it's a show. Point of the story is I will provide a link to those newsletters in the description area down below, so check that out later. But first, before you go and look at that newsletter, I'm going to talk a little bit about, okay, what did I learn this week and what was I working on this week? So the first thing that I learned this week was I can enjoy, and I do enjoy, I do enjoy being true to my beliefs and aligning with those with those beliefs. So what I'm going to talk about in that regard is really an experience I had traveling from Jalapa to the Veracruz airport, and I did a lot of work during that 2 hour span of time. So I'll talk a little bit about that in the what I worked on section. The second thing I learned, however, was that coming back to the States, I'm really feeling a bit of, well, I'm missing Mexico for sure. I loved it there. It was I made friends there. I was comfortable there. But I also, as I arrived back, and as I've been here since, I'm recording this on a Sunday morning, and I arrived back here last Tuesday. So I'm realizing that the only word I can come up with is conflicted. I'm conflicted about the lifestyle that I live here and elsewhere. So I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. And then, as I mentioned in the intro, I've really been considering, especially since I've been back in the States, and everybody speaks English here, which is the one language that I'm fluent in, even though I'm learning Spanish. And so I could communicate much more easily while I'm here. And I'm really considering in that time how much myself I put out in the world. How much do I want to hold back, if anything, to protect myself? And as I was, so I got back to the States on Tuesday, I mentioned, and then I usually release these videos on Thursdays, but I was at a retreat here in Las Cruces, New Mexico, with some other entrepreneurial women that I meet with every couple of weeks. And with them and with others that I see, I really am thinking about how much I envy others for being so much more calm and centered because I don't feel that way at all. So I worked on all of those things this week. And so the first part of that what I learned stuff was really being true to myself and aligning with my beliefs. And so what I meant by that is, so Tuesday, what was it? I guess it was Monday. So basically I had to get from Jalapa to the Veracruz airport. And that's about an hour and a half bus ride. And so I had planned on taking, my flight was at 8 a.m. out of Veracruz. and I was planning on taking a 4 o'clock bus that went from directly from Jalapa to the airport. But when I looked at the bus schedule the night before, I noticed that the 4 o'clock bus was sold out, which meant that I either had to take a bus into the city of Veracruz and then somehow take a taxi to the airport, or I had to go down the night before and take a bus directly to the airport and rent a hotel room and yada, yada, yada. And obviously, I'm grateful for the privilege to have choices in these regards. Like, I had the the funds and ability to make the decision regardless of money, in a sense, because a hotel in Veracruz is not, one night in a Veracruz airport nearby is not very expensive. It's maybe 30 US dollars, and the bus ride itself is also not that expensive. It's maybe $20 US dollars. And so, to me, that I'm lucky enough to say that's not that expensive. And so I had this choice of, do I rearrange my entire workday schedule on Monday to get down to the airport, to get a hotel room, and then so I could get to the airport on time. But really, I would be doing that, all of that, so I didn't have to go into the city of Veracruz to the city center bus station, and take the 10-minute taxi from Veracruz, the bus station, to the airport. And the reason I didn't want to go to Veracruz bus station is because I've been hearing so much about how dangerous Veracruz is as a city. And so, the funny part about that is I didn't really hear that from the local Mexican people. I heard that from other Americans, or from other people who were just kind of a little bit skittish about traveling, or a lot skittish about traveling to Mexico. Uh, so basically, there was a fear there. There was a fear there about just doing what every normal other, I don't want to say normal, but everyday Mexican person would do, which is save your money. You already paid for this night in Jalapa, because I already had accommodation Monday night. Just get on a bus that goes into Veracruz and take the taxi. Like, why wouldn't you do that? Why? That just doesn't make sense. So I decided on that option, and it was a decision that it felt like 100% the right decision. But in my head, there was this, oh my God, what are you, crazy? Getting on a 3:30 a.m. bus out of a bus station somewhere in Mexico and taking it to this city that's seen as so violent, and all of these things that were stopping me. But as I step by step reviewed that decision, it was the best one. And why that was the best one is because I realized, if I were to go the night before, if I were to get a hotel and spend the money, and even though it's not a lot of money, it's not about the money. It's about upholding this world of privilege, upholding this ability that some people can create a fortress around themselves so that they never have to experience anything bad that may happen, but probably won't. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be a part of a world where you could just buy your way out. Um, I, and I say that I'm being very out there with that, but what I mean is I don't want to contribute to that world. I don't want to uphold that world. I want to be in a world, or I want to help create a world. I should say it that way. I want to help create a world where we're all just people, and we're all just trying to get by and figure out our lives. And so, by deciding to be a local, by deciding, and I did my research, I talked to my Airbnb host, I made sure they thought it was safe. I did all of the research. I wasn't being frivolous. I wasn't throwing caution to the wind entirely. But what I was doing was, I was saying, you know what? I am sick of living in that whitewashed world where I can just buy my way into feeling more comfortable. I want to feel uncomfortable a little bit so that I can realize we're all just the same. So that was a lot of work that I did this week. The other thing that I really have been working on these past few days after being back is, I came back to the States, and I'm in this beautiful home, and New Mexico is a beautiful state, and I stayed in a beautiful Airbnb with my business partner while we were on this retreat before I got into this house. And in those quiet moments in between, when there's no one else around and it's just you alone with your thoughts, even if you're just washing your hands in the bathroom or whatever. And I'm washing my hands with hot water. And I'm like, wow, this is different. Um, how do I feel about this? How do I feel about this world where everything is here? Like all of the conveniences are here. And in one instance, I'm totally in love with this world. I am so excited to go to the grocery store today, and to go to Walgreens and just like have things and be able to get everything, no matter what brand I want. And I'm excited for that. On the other side, I'm also, I don't know if the word is ashamed. I don't know what the word is, but there's this gnawing feeling at me that's like, I don't know if this is okay with me. It's okay, but is it really okay with me? Um, and I guess that's this kind of like being in Mexico. And I was in a city. I'm not trying to say I was in some, you know, poor town that people really had a hard time. But it was more like being in Mexico. You maybe didn't have every single convenience, and it almost was like you maybe could have, but that just wasn't what was important. And when you come back to when I come back to the States, I'm like, wow, we like really protect ourselves from hard times here, which is not necessarily bad. We really live a really great life here, though. Not everybody in the States lives a really great life, but I am privileged and lucky enough to be in a world where I I live a really great life here. Wow. Yeah, that felt incredible to say. So I'm working through those feelings and those kind of thoughts. And I would love to hear any other travelers that have these sorts of emotions. I would love to hear about them because well, this leads into my final what I was working on, because I feel I should finish that thought because I don't know necessarily. I don't want to say I don't know how to think about it, but I would like to hear different perspectives to help broaden my thinking and expand it. So, last but not least, the thing I was working on this week was considering how much of myself I put out there in the world. I mean, I I'm one of those people that I just wear my heart out there on my sleeve. I'm very open and honest and I give of myself, and the reason I do that is because I feel like I need to. I feel like I need, I don't have time for the bullshit, to be honest. I don't have time. I feel like I'm running out of time. I don't know if any of you have seen the movie, or heard the soundtrack to the Hamilton musical, but there's one song where they're like, where she's like talking, there one, I think is its wife is singing, and she's like, why do you write like you're running out of time? And it's kind of this prelude to his early death. And I'm not trying to say I'm going to die, but I resonate, or die young, but I resonate with that. I'm running out of time, like the whole like, I don't know what so and so is going to think of me. I don't have time for that shit. But I say all that. That's the emotion that comes through me when I'm trying to speak, just like you saw. But then I see how people react, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm the weird person again. I'm the girl who talks too much. I'm the girl who puts her feelings out there too openly. I'm the girl who is open and honest, and I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I'm just trying to cut through the crap and have a conversation that's real and that affects both of us, hopefully in a very good way. And so we're working on this week is, should I pull back? I feel like I've been pulling back my whole life, and that's what's led me to this point in my life where I need to go off on my own and just be myself. Um, but, should I pull back? Can I do that and still be myself? I don't know that I can. So I would love to hear, maybe most people just aren't as open and honest, not because they're trying to protect themselves, but maybe it's just not who they are. And maybe I just am this way and I just should own it. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, that's a lot of what's been going on in my head this week. And a lot of what I've been thinking about and what I will continue to think about as I go into the American or the United States Thanksgiving week this week, and continue my time here in Las Cruces, which, by the way, so far, really enjoying Las Cruces and looking forward to spending more time here. So that's it for this week. As I said, next week I will be back here in Las Cruces, New Mexico. I would like to thank Hans Adam featuring Snowflake for the music I use in the intro and outro. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and let me know, or please comment on anything I've said here today. I need your help, guys. Like, I can't do this one on my own. If you like these videos and you want to be alerted every week when I release them, usually on Thursdays, please subscribe in the button down below. And as always, thank you so very much for watching.